So on the last page of the comic, we got the Nuketown loading screen a bit updated, bit expanded upon, so it gave us a bit more context on what was going on. We've got 5 more comic issues to go, and so I've been thinking, what are the 5 other loading screens that really need to be expanded upon, that need to be explained? So for the first one, I've talked about this a ton before, but it's the Nuketown Totem loading screen. Just looking at it now, it is still something that I can't explain, like what is even going on? And when you think of Black Ops 1, the whole story of, sleeper cell agents and all that, it kind of makes sense. It kind of looks like there's a person and like there's mindless drones, mindless human beings that you could say like, oh, they're zombies or whatever and he's controlling them. I don't know, like it's just really hard to tell. And then you've got the time travel aspect. Who's traveling back in time? What's going on? Then you've got that bottom right one of some guy going through a teleporter with the numbers that Mason sees. The only similarities I've seen with that is them appearing on 5 around the teleporters and the Pentagon Thief. And of course the teleporter itself looks a bit like the Origins teleporters, but also the portals in Revelations. Still, it doesn't really make sense what the shit's going on. And then in the top right, it seems like they've lifted that shot right out of Indiana Jones. But yeah, this is the top priority, and I kind of hope that this is in the very next issue. The next one that is the most important, and I think everyone would agree on this, is the Shangri-La loading screen. 5 years on, and it is still confusing people. You've got the eclipse up there, you've got the black sun logo down there, looks like either crystals or something like that spinning around. I'm not too sure. I remember back in the day we thought it was the focusing stone, and then people today probably think it's the summoning key. But yeah, you got a tornado there. You got a tornado there with lightning. Things are getting sucked through it. It's like a portal. You've got a skull down in the corner that's been shot in the eye, so someone has killed someone there with a pistol. And then of course the mountains, Shangri-La mountains, of course, I can see why they're so red and all that. Like you can see why people think that. And it doesn't end there. Of course, we had that moon updated loading screen, and one of the panels showed Samantha was in Shangri-La. It showed her silhouette in Shangri-La. So I'm not sure how they're going to really explain this one, because the Nuketown one, they just zoomed out. But this one is just one single image. I don't really see how they can explain it with a zoomed out image. They might just make up their own little borders and boxes and all that, but it doesn't matter in the long run. As long as it's explained, I do not care if they change shit around. Our third one, and naturally I've got to go onto this, is the moon loading screen, and it's mainly just the right side that I'm curious about. The left side, of course, is a bit like, oh, what's going on? Like, why are they selling all these products? But the right side, it doesn't really answer much, because you've got that meanwhile in the top corner there, and it's like, is this meanwhile the Shangri-La loading screen's going on? Because we do see a pyramid there. But yeah, we can see Griffin Station there. We see Samantha's silhouette there holding the teddy bear, like, okay, she's the boss of this or whatever, but it's like, what is she doing? And then you've got 2 astronauts down there traversing the crevice and all that. You've got a third one up there next to the pyramid, of course. We don't know who they are, of course. And then you've got an excavator on the bottom right one with what looks like a moon or an orb or something, not too sure. Now, as I said before, this loading screen was updated actually a bit, but it still didn't answer much. It actually confused things even more for me. They reattached the little receipt in the bottom left corner, but they blurred out and made a lot of things blank, oddly enough. I don't know why. The astronauts are now turning around facing us, so they've either done something and they're coming back now. The bottom right panel, of course, is the Samantha silhouette in Shangri-La. And then the top one, Griffin Station, is just not even there anymore. It's completely wiped, and, all those little shadows on the moon, it's such an odd thing to change that around. And as I said, it does not explain anything. But hopefully we can get it explained in the comic book. Number 4, we're going to go back to Ascension here. Some aspects of this loading screen can be explained. I'm not sure if they're exactly correct, of course, but on the right we do see Gersh, or presumably that is Gersh, in the portal after Yuri sucked him up. We do see in that little third panel, I guess that's hinting at the space monkeys, because you've got the little water tray there. On the left is the man, doing his work and all that, and in the background we can see some instrument, some machine of some kind. And then the main part of it, you see the 3 rockets there, and in the shadow it spells out 115, and then in the bottom there you've got that diagram. And so it's probably the one that needs the least amount of explaining, to be honest, but it does still have parts that need explaining, and so that's why I've chosen it. Lastly, it is Die Rise. Now there are only really 2 aspects of this I want answered. 1, that guy over there in the top right picture, he's just a silhouette there. I want to know, is that meant to be Samuel, who we see in the intro cutscene? He's standing on the edge, or is it meant to be some mysterious man? And I guess it plays into the fact that on the right side there, we see the tear is in the shape of a man, like it's foreshadowing something. The other sections, I guess they don't really need explanation. They're very, very simple, but it's just those 2 things I want. The man in the top right and that tear in the shape of the man. Like, what does that mean? Because when we turn to Buried, of course, that tear's gone. Now, I know not everyone is going to agree with me, so I'm going to explain why I left out the other ones. Varrock, Shinonuma and Doris, they're blueprints, they're the map layout pretty much, and I don't really see how you can expand on that. The one that could be interesting maybe is Doris, and I guess in turn the Giant, because you've got those bits of paper around it that say some stuff, so it could be interesting, but I think what I've listed would answer more pretty much. I'm just more curious about them. Kino's a bit self-explanatory. The panels are pretty much just showing the events from Nuketown to Doris. It's just showing each map pretty much. And I'm not too sure if, that really needs more expansion, more explanation. 5, of course, is 5. You can't actually expand on just a still image pretty much. Call of the Dead, well, that's like the Black Ops 3 ones. It's pretty much just a poster. You can't really expand on it. Transit and the other Green Run loading screens, of course, I'd say I put them in the same boat as the World at War ones. It's not like, what can you do expanding out on them? Unless you severely, zoom out and you show every single postcard and it's on a table of something that's very important, I just don't think you can really get anything out of those. Mob of the Dead is actually an interesting choice, and it would have been my next one. It's not a traditional comic though. I don't think they can really expand out with a journal, to be honest. And a lot of the things are just the mechanics in the game. Like, oh, you need to go on the plane. This is how Afterlife works. Go through portals, zap things and all that. It of course does contain ciphers and other little things, so I will give this one a special mention. It'd be interesting to see this one on the list. We get to Buried, and Buried, it's very straightforward. There's no real mystery to it, to be honest. The only one that is intriguing is the top left one. It shows the ghost there in the courthouse, and you could maybe, get some backstory for her. Of course, you do have the blueprint though, on the top right. That is like the Origins blueprint. It kind of seems like that is what was going to be the map loading screen. But then, of course, they decided to show the poster. And this goes for the rest of the Black Ops 3 ones. They're all posters. I don't think there's really any explanation of them. Anyway, those are just the 5 loading screens I feel should be expanded upon. But you guys may feel differently about which ones should be expanded upon. So let me know in a comment which loading screens you'd like to see expanded upon in the future issues. I'm gonna go, guys, and I'll catch you all later. Cheers!